Have you ever looked at your life and thought, man, I wish I could go back to a simpler time? Like when people didn't even know what a virus was, and all you had to worry about was shelter, water, starvation, and wolves. Well, have I got a game for you. Paleo is a cooperative survival crafting adventure board game set in the Stone Age. A game in which players try to keep the human beings in their care alive while developing new advancements and laying the foundation for the human experience. Your long-term goal? Painting a woolly mammoth on the wall so your friends can look at it. And who knows, maybe when a certain ancient alien lizard man walks by, it will inspire him to build a website. So, like we do every day here at Great Oaks, we're going to teach you how to play. Before your first game, you will need to assemble and organize a few things. Punch out all of the cardboard. Then, build the cemetery by folding these two flaps up and inserting this piece into the top, like so. Once that's done, you'll build the workbench. Fold these pieces along their creases and insert them into the two sides of the top and bottom, like so. Then, slide the bottom piece into place. Finally, the cards will need to be separated by the letter or number printed on the top right of each card into the included bags. The cards are numbered 1 through 5 and A through J. Just place every card with the same symbol into one bag. Try your best not to examine the cards too closely when doing this. Trust me, you don't want to spoil the surprises this game has in store for you. Before we begin, let's go over a few key concepts. First of all, Paleo is a cooperative game. Players work together as a team. You win or lose together in the end. You can always discuss strategy openly around the table and freely share any information with each other. The game is played over multiple rounds, each with a day and night cycle. During the day, you will gather resources, make tools, and overcome challenges. During the night, you will feed your people and prepare for the following day. Each player controls their own group of people and has their own deck of cards. This deck represents the environment you will explore, as well as the time you have available to you. The object of the game is to continue to discover new things. Thus, you will frequently uncover new tasks while you play. This is why you shouldn't examine the cards too closely. You don't want to spoil the surprises. For most games, you will use only 2 of the 10 included modules. The modules are sorted in the rulebook into 7 levels of increasing difficulty, but can be mixed and matched and played in any order you choose. There are always new adventures to discover in Paleo. Your goal in this game is to complete a cave painting of a woolly mammoth so that people thousands of years from now will know you were here. To do this, you will need to collect all 5 victory tokens, adding them to the night board. Once that 5th piece is placed, you immediately win the game. Skull tokens, on the other hand, are bad. You don't want these. The moment you collect 5 of them, all players immediately lose the game. So, try your best to avoid them. In the rare case that you collect both at the same time, the game ends in a very close victory. To set up your first game, place the 3 game boards on the table: the base camp, the wilderness, and the night board. Place the skull and victory tokens near the night board. Place the resource tokens and the wound markers within reach of all of the players. And place 5 food tokens into the base camp on this space here. Place the workbench near the base camp board and sort the tool tiles by type. Place 5 torches, 5 stone axes, and 5 spears into the base of the workbench onto their corresponding spaces, and place the cemetery near the workbench. Now, you will need decks 2, 3, and 4. These represent people, dreams, and ideas, respectively. Shuffle each deck separately and set them onto the 3 corresponding spaces on the base camp. Next, you'll need deck number 1. This is the base set of cards that you will add your modules to. Depending on which module you're using, you will need a few different cards. Each module has a mission card that you can identify by this symbol in the top left corner. Place those here. Some have ideas that are placed into the workbench before the game begins. And some have secret cards that are placed into this space face down without looking at them. Secrets are located in deck 5, and you can identify them by the numbers printed on their backs. All of these setup changes are listed with their corresponding modules in the supplemental rulebook. For example, in your first game, all you have to worry about are modules A and B. Module A, Bountiful Prey, has a mission card that will be placed here and calls for 2 secret cards, numbers 1 and 2 from deck 5. Like every module, Module B, A New World, has a mission card as well. Place that next to the first one. It also calls for the Tent Idea card to be placed into the workshop. Place the Tent Idea card from the module into the workbench. Then, place the tent tokens into the slot below it to indicate that they can be built. The rest of the cards in both modules can now be shuffled into the base deck. Remember, don't look at the faces of these cards. Once the cards are shuffled, deal them out as evenly as possible to all of the players. Don't worry if players receive an uneven number of cards. This does not affect game balance in any way. Each player will now draw 2 people from the people deck and place them face up in front of them. These people make up your individual group, and more will be added over the course of the game. Finally, each player takes any tool tokens printed on their people cards and places them next to their group. Now that setup is complete, we can start the game with the day phase. Each day phase consists of multiple turns, and each player will take their turns simultaneously. To begin the day phase, look at the backs of the top 3 cards in your deck and choose one of them to place face down in front of you. This decision is based entirely on the artwork on the back of the cards. At this point, you can only look at the backs of your cards. You can look at the backs of your entire deck at any time, but you cannot change the order of the cards. Once you've chosen your card, return the other 2 cards to the top of your deck in the order of your choosing. There are many different card backs, all indicating something. Useful resources can often be found in the forests, rivers, and mountains. People, dreams, and ideas always have something good to help you work toward your goal. But there are many other card backs in the game that are much more unclear. You will discover what these mean as you play, but you can never be sure what secrets lie in wait. Printed on the camp, you will find a helpful diagram to guide your choices. You should discuss with your group which cards to choose, but the final decision of which of your 3 cards to pick is always up to you. Once each player has chosen a card to play, they will flip the cards simultaneously. Each player will then choose an option on the card to resolve, discard the card face up to the right side of the wilderness board, and start again by looking at the top 3 cards of their decks. All of these steps are taken simultaneously and continue until all the players' decks are empty. Once you have run out of cards, you go to sleep. Once you are asleep, you cannot resolve other cards or even assist other players. The other players continue the day phase like normal until all players run out of cards and have gone to sleep for the night. Instead of revealing and resolving a card, you also have the option of going to sleep early. Just discard all of your remaining cards face down to the left side of the wilderness board without effect. You might want to do this if you have a lot of dangerous-looking red-backed cards left in your deck and you don't feel safe continuing on. Once all players have gone to sleep, we begin the night phase. But before we get to that, let's talk about all the different types of cards that you will find in the game. All of the cards have a symbol here that tells you what type of card it is, and a letter or number here, which is only really useful for setup and storage. These cards with a green background are for your people. People can join your group and provide a variety of benefits to help you achieve your goals. Some people provide you with a tool token when they join your group, printed here. And most people have one of 3 abilities printed here. The 3 abilities are Strength, Awareness, and Skill. These are helpful in resolving action cards during the day phase. Each person also has Health printed on the right side of the card. Whenever your group suffers damage, you must choose one and only one of your people to take that damage. For each wound your group suffers, you must place a wound token onto a heart-shaped space on one person in your group from the top down. If that person suffers enough wounds to cover this skull space, that person dies and is discarded to the graveyard. Whenever this happens, you must also place a skull token on the night board. For example, your group has suffered 2 wounds. You must choose one of these 2 people to take those wounds. You could place them on your crafter and he would live, but instead, you decide to place them on the hunter. Since he's already taken damage and he only has 1 space left, you place 1 wound token on the skull space and discard the other one. This kills your hunter, but also leaves your crafter with full health. Life is hard in the Stone Age. If the last person in your group dies, place the skull token, then draw a new person from the person deck on the base camp and add them to your group. Action cards have a blue background. To resolve an action card, you must always choose one of the 3 following options. You may resolve one of the actions to gain a reward, help another player resolve their card, or ignore the card entirely. Many cards in the game give you various actions to resolve. On the left, you will see a cost, and on the right, you'll see a reward. Pay the cost, get the reward. It's as simple as that. A caveman could do it. This is an ability requirement. In order to take this action, your group would have to have at least this ability total, adding together the abilities of all of your people. This symbol means that you must discard a number of cards from the top of your deck, face down to the left side of the wilderness board. Make sure not to look at the faces of any of the cards you discard in this way. Cards with a red back are usually hazards. We'll cover them in just a moment. Just know that for each red-backed card you discard in this way, your group must take 1 wound. Once you have chosen your action and paid the cost on that action, take the reward printed on the right. Any resources like wood, food, and stone are placed in the common storage area on the base camp board. One option on each action card is to help another group. Doing this adds all of your abilities and advantages to help another player achieve the action that they're taking this turn. When you help another group, your group can suffer wounds instead of them, and you can split any rewards gained from that action between everyone involved. But you may not discard cards from your deck while helping another player. After you have resolved an action card, discard that card face up. For example, you, a helpful member of society, notice that the tribe needs wood. You've heard that forests tend to have that, so you choose this card to reveal this turn. After everyone has chosen their card, the whole team reveals them simultaneously. Looks like you're in luck, but you'll need 2 skill icons in your group to pull it off, and you only have 1. Mark notices this and offers to help you out. Mark has the other skill symbol that you'll need on one of his group members. So to complete this mission, all you will have to do is discard the top 2 cards of your deck. Looks like the second card down from the top is a red card, so your group will have to take 1 wound, but that's a small price to pay for civilization. Since Mark helped you out, he could take that wound for you, but he's done so much for you already, so you'll gladly take one for the team. You discard the top 2 cards of your deck face down to the left side of the wilderness board without looking at their faces. Place 1 wound onto your crafter for the discarded red card, and finally claim the reward from the general supply, placing it onto the base camp board. Once everyone is done with their actions, everyone discards their action cards face up to the right side of the wilderness board and draws 3 more cards from the top of their deck for the next round. So, before we move on to the night phase, there are a few more things that you should know about action cards. Hazard cards are almost always bad. You can identify them by their red background and the exclamation point symbol on the top left of the card. They always have at least 1 negative action printed on the bottom, and they can never be ignored. You must resolve 1 action on a hazard card, even if it's a negative one. Most cards with red backs are hazards, but you can never be sure. Sometimes you'll find hazards lurking behind other cards, and sometimes you'll find something good on a red-backed card. An arrow like this means that you must pay cards, resources, or tool tokens to take this action. Resources are taken from the base camp, tool tokens are discarded without using their printed ability, and cards are discarded face down to the wilderness board without looking at their faces. Sometimes, you will have to remove cards from the game instead of discarding them. If you see this symbol, discard the action card to the graveyard. Unlike most cards in the game, this card will not be put back into rotation at the beginning of the next day phase. Sometimes, an action will have an unpredictable outcome. If you see this symbol, roll the number of dice shown on the card. The face of the die increases the ability requirement of the action. If you roll a die and cannot complete the action, you must resolve a negative action on the card instead. Or, if there is no negative action, you'll just have to ignore the card entirely. If you want to ask for help with a card that has a dice requirement, you must do so before rolling dice, not after. Now that you understand action cards, let's move on to crafting. To survive in the Stone Age, your group will need tools. To craft tools, someone will first need to come up with the idea. You always start out with 3 ideas printed on the board, which will allow you to craft a torch, a stone axe, or a spear. This icon represents a new idea. To resolve this, draw a card from the idea deck and place it into the workbench. Then, place the corresponding tokens into the small slot in front of that idea. This icon allows you to craft an idea at a workbench. To resolve this, just choose an idea at the workbench, pay the cost listed on the idea, and claim the token, placing it next to your group. Some tokens give you ongoing abilities, adding to the ability value of your group. This symbol means that the token must be discarded in order to use its ability. You can use the ability on the tool as soon as you gain it. Also, if you discard a tool token as a cost for an action, you may not use its ability on the same turn. Each tool token can be spent only once. Tool tokens and action cards have many varying abilities and rewards which you will discover as you play. Just keep the rulebook handy to reference what each symbol means, and you'll be alright. There is one really important one to look out for, and that's the victory token symbol. This is how you win the game. Each time you resolve a card or action with this symbol, place a part of the mammoth painting onto the night board. Once all players are asleep, the night phase begins. First, each player must feed all of their people. Discard one food token from the base camp board for each person in your group. Your people won't die if there isn't enough food, but you will have to place one skull token on the night board for each person the players weren't able to feed. After your people are fed, you must deal with any face-up mission cards. Each mission card has a negative action printed on the bottom. You must choose an option for each card and resolve it. Most give you the option to pay some resources or tool tokens to avoid placing a skull token on the night board. And just like hazards, these cannot be ignored. You may collect some cards during the game that are added to your group that also have a night symbol printed on them. At this point, you must also resolve those. Once this is done, we begin a new day. After the day and night phases are complete, collect all of the cards on the wilderness board, flip the face-up cards face down, and shuffle both decks together. Then, deal all of the cards to all of the players again to begin a new round with another day phase. Play will continue like this again and again until the players either place all 5 mammoth tokens on the board to win or place all 5 skull tokens and lose. And that's how you play Paleo. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. We would love to hear from you. What's your favorite survival crafting game? Post your answer in the comments below, and if you have any questions or feedback, we will be sure to reply as soon as we're able. Paleo is one of hundreds of great games you can pick up for up to 30% off at greatoakstavern.com/shop. Click the link in the description for more information, or just stop on by when you're in town to play this and over 600 other awesome games like it at Great Oaks Tavern.